Well, at this point, I don't know who I want to quote more. Victor Frankenstein, the Joker, or just laugh like the Shadow, but it turns out that Facebook and Twitter have lost, I think, 50 or 51 million in stock, I guess, because after they banned Trump, and it wasn't just them. I heard that also Amazon also lost some subscriptions in the wake of them both whatever they did to Trump and also what they did to Parler, which was a dick move. And I'm happy to see them all suffering a little. I doubt it'll last long because people seem to have the attention span of a squirrel sometimes, and they're willing to forget horrible things. They're basically like, it's basically kind of like when the brown shirts and the Communist Party briefly were buddy buddy. That's how it sometimes feels in a way. I don't think people are actually like that, but that's how it feels to me personally. That they sometimes are just willing to forget things and just move on, which isn't such a bad thing in hindsight. But yeah, I would say I would be quoting these because, well, I would be laughing like the Shadow because I want to see these people squirm because I'm pissed at what they did to Trump. I mean, just even if you don't like the guy, even if I was in a position where I didn't like him, I wouldn't want that happening to him. Well, actually, I probably would maybe, because then I would be an insane leftist. That or just a leftist who's moderate and doesn't really care. But it just seemed so unfair is the only word I can really say. Because I kind of figured when Trump was out of office they would do this to him eventually, but I thought it would be after a second term, and there was some stability in the country. But that's also not the point. And that's why I would just be laughing because. And Twitter's justification for why they banned him is bullshit, in my opinion. They are acting like they are protecting people. They're not. They're protecting their side and their personal interests. Because I suspect they give a lot of money to the Dems, and it's mostly Dems who back them, and they're willing to cooperate with them and probably unperson people. It'd probably be like that one group from 1984 who unpersons people willingly without coercion for a job. And that's also why I would be quoting the Joker saying, "You get what you effing deserve." And I would be quoting Frankenstein because, well, the media and Twitter, Facebook, and all these corporate elites and who want to be oligarchs have made their own monster, their own worst enemy out of the MAGA crowd. And there's a lot of them, and a lot of them were probably giving them money and using their sites. And now they've alienated them, which was a stupid move. Like to quote, well, what was his name? He did a basketball shoot with Larry Elder, or was it Larry Bird? Hard to remember. No, I think it might have been Larry Bird. I actually have his signature with me, but anyway, yeah, this guy was asked why he didn't take political stances. He said, because Republicans buy my shoes too. Now, Twitter and Facebook, they have no such discretion. They have no such qualms with alienating people. The same with Amazon and, what was his name? Jeff Bezos, who I think South Park's depiction of may be more and more accurate than I originally thought. And yeah, I just think it's funny that this is happening to them because I hate corporations. Like, that is one of the things I liked about Cyberpunk 2077. It didn't portray corporations in a positive light, as from what little I've been able to play of it. And yeah, that's kind of accurate. These corporations are not our friends. They are enemies of the state as far as I'm concerned. They need to be constantly kept in check by the government, who unfortunately instead is more interested in expanding their power constantly, alienating the people and treating us like sheep. And just looking to start a moral crusade every couple of seconds so they can get more power and get more influence because the sheep that are the people, or swaths of the people, the low intellectual voters, they're just trying to always constantly move more and more of the goalpost and try to get more and more power instead of doing what they should be doing, which is protecting our interests and also keeping these corporations in check who have gotten way too powerful. They are now acting like monopolies. They're trying to destroy their competition. If you don't believe me, look at what they've been doing with Parler, which I just joined the day or two before they got banned, which sucks. So if they ever come back up, yeah, follow me on there if you want some Oh, yes, scratch that. It probably won't come back up. Unlike Gab, they weren't that smart. And I hate Gab, for the record. Well, I say hate. I still prefer them to Twitter. If there was a gun to my head and I had to choose one, I would go to Gab. But I think the people who run it are insane and a little puritanical because they've been banning people who have been showing like anime titties or porn or whatever. Some that Twitter allows. Which sucks because they have put me in a position where I have to say something positive about Twitter. And there's not a gun to my head when I say it. Like I never thought I would be in that situation, but damn it, Gab. But anyway, I just wanted to put my response to them losing these stocks and money and credibility more and more with each passing day. Well, I'm hoping some of these people will now be losing a job, kind of like Jack Dorsey. Like I think Styx said it best. I have a dream. There will be a day when Jack Dorsey lives on the streets homeless. He probably didn't say those exact words, but yeah, that's a dream I can share in. Jack Dorsey is a hipster gonk, and a sanctimonious one at that, who I can't stand, whose profile picture on Twitter makes him look like a supervillain. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Nathan, this is a little bit harsh here. You want people to lose their jobs? You want them to be homeless? Bear this in mind. These people, if the roles were reversed, they would have no problem doing that to you or me. So why should I show them any sympathy? As much as I'm open to forgiveness, that requires both people to come to the table and willing to let things go. These people don't strike me as the kind to let things go. Hell, I doubt they have a forgiving bone in their body. And as much as I want to reach a point in history where people go back to leaving each other alone and minding their own damn business, I doubt that's going to happen in the near future. Mainly because I'm starting to think It's a Gundam was right. We are in the declining age of Rome when it was still a republic. I'm starting to think we're going to see it go from an actual republic to an empire, which is going to suck because imagine the damage America could do as an empire, trying to conquer everything. Like I also say this if Nazis or communists took over America. Imagine the damage they could inflict on the world with the resources America has. Well, I thought that originally because I thought it couldn't get worse than those two. I was wrong. Then they elected a crony politician who's probably going to start a war with more countries, probably Russia, which sucks. Because I'm pretty sure I have a friend or two on Twitter who's from Russia. Or from areas that used to be owned by Russia. So it would suck if we went to war with them. I doubt we'll go to war with China because Biden is owned by them. Who these corporations are trying to help make sure gets into office, who's going to sell our jobs out to China. And I know I don't usually go into politics on this channel. At least I hope I don't. But this time I make an exception because I really wanted to get these thoughts out. Because it legitimately pisses me off that I have to call that ghoul my commander-in-chief. I should be calling him the commander-in-thief. Or the thief-in-chief. As just some guy called him one time, which was a brilliant video on his part. If you have not seen it, I suggest you watch it. It's about him saying that Biden will have an asterisk next to his name. If he becomes president, there's no investigation into the election to make sure it was legitimate. And I don't think it was. On the bright side, when I'm an old man, I can say, well, children, I had the dishonor of living through the second bastard presidency. Which it is. I mean, a bastard is essentially an illegitimate child. I consider Biden an illegitimate president, so he's technically a bastard president. And that's really all the thoughts I can really muster on this without getting more pissed. Actually, no, scratch that. I do have one last thought. I want to go back to some that I was mentioning before I trailed off on that little rant. About me saying that I hope these people at Facebook and Twitter lose their jobs or whatever. I do know that sounds awful. I truly do. I feel awful saying it to a little of an extent. But then again, I have little empathy for these people because they have little empathy for me. Do to others what you would have them do to you. Or treat others as you expect to be treated. Well, these people treat people like shit. They sold information on them to China. They've kicked people off for having the wrong opinions, many of them conservatives. For the record, which I am not. I tend to be in the middle, mostly because I hate both sides. But at least the supporters on the right aren't as crazy as the people on the left who support the Democrats. I will say that for a fact. Whatever problems I have with conservatives, I can at least put that aside for the fact they're sane. That and their women don't look like land whales. And I can actually respect some of them. Most of the people who were on the left that I did respect lost their minds a couple of times. If you don't believe me, look at the skeptic community. Look at Andy Worski. Actually, no, that's a bit unfair. That doesn't really have anything to do with the left. He was actually calling out SJW crap, but he lost his mind. Anyway, these people have shown they have zero willingness to come to the table and talk things out or be civil. In fact, they seem more interested in unpersoning people, like what they tried doing to Trump. And it's not just them. Banks have started doing this. And for the record, I hope these banks go broke. I hope Donald Trump gets all his money from them, or however it works, because I have never dealt with banks before in my life, so it's one of the positive things about almost being done with college. I will finally be free and be able to learn all this crap on my own. But the banks doing this have shown that they are willing to take political sides, and banks should have no political stance. They should be neutral. They should be just giving people money or taking money and making money and doing whatever it is they do instead of playing politics. But of course they aren't, so they are, and now they're alienating more people. And I hope people withdraw their money, go to other banks, or find other means of dealing with their money, because this is bullshit. So these banks, Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, I hope they suffer for this. I also hope Google suffers for this, and I also hope YouTube suffers for it for a little bit, because Mama Susan's a bitch. Especially concerning what she's been doing to Papa Gundam. But, yeah, that is the end of my thought on that. Facebook and Twitter, they have no sympathy from me, as you can obviously tell. And I would get no sympathy from them, so I'm returning the favor. I'm going to laugh at their misfortune, popcorn in hand, and just laugh it off as it all happens. Laugh all the way. I'll be like that crazy guy laughing all the way to hell, basically. And I'm going to enjoy every second of it, and they deserve it. They deserve no sympathy. They brought this on themselves, is my point. Kind of like how Rome brought on its own destruction through electing idiots and people with ambition who put their ambition before the republic. Or letting them have power and letting them kill people, like Cicero, who tried to preserve it. Which I honestly thought was going to happen to Trump. I'm not going to lie. I thought someone was going to assassinate his ass, his spray-tanned ass. But thankfully he didn't. Or they didn't, and he lived, and he can hopefully do some more good with his life. If he can find a way to get around this whole being unpersoned by a lot of people. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments. And remember, the game was obviously rigged from the start, but occasionally you can enjoy the aftermath as it backfires on people. And thanks to the Quartering for bringing this to my attention. Well, not bringing it to my attention. I only know about it because of my subscription to him. But yeah, thanks to him as my last parting thing of this video. Have a nice day.